Hi, welcome to the Quinta. It's January 2024 and we are coming up to our second year in this absolutely beautiful place. And I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you in this video. So stick around. So yeah, this is all laden with clover and other such goodness. I'm just turning it over with the spade to incorporate that as a natural fertilizer into the ground, and that's going to hopefully rot down and we're going to get some beautiful vegetables. And we've actually got now a polytunnel, so just cut to a little bit of footage of us putting that up. Maya has a friend. I've always hated Meccano, absolutely hate it, and this is basically Meccano. So yeah, I think a cup of tea might be in order, and yeah, we'll come back and speed it up again later on. So yeah, it got freezing last night, so we stopped. Well, Ev carried on. I went inside and sat by the fire, but today we have fog, so yeah, ho hum, let's carry on and put the rest of this thing together. Ooh, a house. It's looking a little bit crumpled, but it is all piled up. The earth should keep the tarpaulin, I suppose you call it, down, hopefully protected from the wind. Next time it rains, hopefully it'll wash everything off. But there we go, a polytunnel. Now all we've got to do is sort the inside out. So you might be able to tell I didn't really enjoy putting that up. I don't know why, but I never really got into Meccano, although I do like other mechanical stuff. So yeah, a bit weird maybe, but we have got loads and loads of seeds planted, and I've even put in an orange tree. Yes, so it is appreciably warmer in here, and here's our little orange tree, and we've got loads and loads of seeds and a nice little place to work for when the weather isn't quite as good. Anyway, it got me thinking, because, you know, I was a little bit, how shall we say, reticent about getting hold of a polytunnel. You know, obviously it would be wonderful to have a beautiful glass house made out of hardwood, but the budget simply isn't there for that. So we went online and bought it. Brilliant service actually for the company we brought it from, and it got shipped over all the way from China for 200 odd quid. It's not a lot of money really, is it? It's an 8x3 metre polytunnel, and with any luck, because we're going to extend the season growing you know, the crops, it should pay for itself quite quickly. But it did get me thinking, what is that thing's carbon footprint, and does it actually matter? It's been doing an awful lot of strimming of late. You can see up there, Ever's donning the orange jackets. What a beautiful place this is. This stuff is rather easy to pull up at the moment, but it's a real pain. It's broom, and it does like to burn in the summer, so getting all of this really clear, it's not only a legal obligation, it's also rather sensible, because we don't have the house destroyed, of course. So, carbon. Did you know that carbon, or carbon dioxide, is absolutely essential for plant growth? In actual fact, the more you have of it, the higher the concentration, the better plants grow. And at the moment, the concentration of atmospheric carbon dioxide is 0.004%. It's a trace gas. And, you know, I'm not denigrating the environmental movement. I think it's extremely important to look after the environment. I don't think I'd be able to live here if I didn't care. However, and it was actually a masterstroke, they decided that they would tax us on the air that we breathe. Specifically air that we breathe out, of course, because we breathe out higher concentration of carbon dioxide than we breathe in, of course. But they came up with this absolutely stunning plan to demonise carbon, and it's got to the stage where we've got tractors all over Europe blocking motorways, and today Paris is actually being blockaded. I don't know whether you've actually seen that on your television set. It really does seem to depend where you get your news as to how much of this is actually coming out. And you can understand, because you know, the powers that be don't like their narrative to be challenged. But that's what I'm doing here. I am challenging this narrative. I absolutely do not think that carbon dioxide is a pollutant. I've seen plastics just thrown out of cars into watercourses. We've all seen it, litter dropped, and non-biodegradable litter that damages the environment in so many different ways. But we're not worried about that. We're not worried about the Pacific Gyre, which is basically one absolutely enormous whirlpool full of the whole world's plastics. We're worried about carbon dioxide. It's crazy. So yeah, why am I mentioning that? Why am I mentioning these tractor protests, and what in fact are they about? Well, the farmers across Europe are protesting because of the removal of a small tax break that allows them to purchase diesel slightly more cheaply. It's still really expensive, and also there are curbs proposed on the use of nitrogen fertilizers, and I just showed you that little clover plant up there, and that is of course fixing nitrogen. Nitrogen is again a building block for plants. It's all very strange. So if the cost of the nitrogen goes up, the nitrogen fertilizers, and I do get there's problems with runoff, but you know, if you over apply something, it's costing you money. If they put the cost of nitrogen up, if they put the cost of carbon diesel up, then that cost is going to directly affect the food that you buy, the food that you put on your plate. It's going to put the cost of transport up, as well as the cost of production. It's going to spiral out of control, and you may well already be seeing the cost of living crisis reflected in the higher prices in your supermarket. Unfortunately, there's only so far that the market will bear that, and the supermarkets know that very, very well, and they are currently, for very, very many products, paying farmers a very, very low price. And if you contrast that with their profits, you know, supermarkets are still pretty healthy. So the tagline, the hashtag of this whole movement is no farmers, no food. And it really is astonishing in this day and age that people don't make the link between that tractor going up and down in the field and the food on your plate. We can do without the politicians. You know, this is said a lot. We can do without many, many sectors. But we can't do without farmers, because without them, you're not going to eat. And without food, you're not going to live. They really don't have a bad life, these animals. They almost wild, but they get all the benefits of us guys, well, basically being their slaves, I guess. Come here, George. Come on. Yeah, well, I can hear you all the way from the other side. Getting the first bumblebees, and the cat's quite intrigued by them at the moment. So I was digging over the plot over there, and you know, you might say, oh gosh, you know, you shouldn't be digging. Well, okay, fine, but we are actually going to trial some no dig this year. So Ev's actually looking after the other vegetable patch, and she is mulching that down, and we're going to see, you know, comparatively which is the better process. Yeah, the strimming has been an amazingly big job. There's been so much of it. I think I've probably done about 5-6 hectares now, and obviously the wood chips and stuff are staying on the land and improving that. And this is the idea really with the no dig, is that instead of turning over the soil as I was doing there and burying the plants and what have you, if you cover it all up, then the mulch actually improves the soil. You're using worms and other such animals and microorganisms to break that down, and that in itself then feeds the plants. So I will report back to you on that. But in that vein, I wanted to just, I saw something else, and it blew my mind that it's even a thing. I saw this little article, and it's telling us that the actual environmental impact of farming your own food, of digging over your own garden, putting in your own tomato plants, is 6 times worse than having these same products grown commercially. I don't know where they're talking out of, but it's not the mouth. I accept that if you buy a plant in a plastic tub and then you just do absolutely everything with your brand new plastic watering can, yeah, it might, be that in that first instance you're, less environmentally friendly. Thank you, pussycat. But that's only in the first year, and it's the same for this polytunnel. If that lasts 5 years, 6 years, not only financially, hopefully, it'll have paid for itself, but also the environmental impact will have been offset. I really would encourage you in that vein to have a healthy disregard for the foundation of this type of statement. I don't see it based in fact. In actual fact, it makes me a little bit angry. If we're worried about food security, which we should be, if Paris has 3 days food, if Paris is being blockaded by farmers because they're so desperate, because they can't make a living, and they are going to go out of business, well, we need to think about food security. And, if you've got a lawn, even if you've just got a window box, I really would encourage you, just get a packet of seeds and start and dig over that garden. Perhaps switch off this video when you've watched it all, and when you click like and subscribe if that's what you want to do. Go out and dig your own garden over. Make a plan. You can't eat grass. That's why we have ruminants. And this is another stupid statistic. If you raise a cow in a barn, first of all, I don't think that's particularly humane. And you feed that cow on soy, which is one of the most environmentally damaging crops you can grow. It needs a huge amount of fertilizer. Everything wants to eat it, so you have to kill everything around. Well, yes, the impact. Blooming cat. Well, yes, the impact of that is fairly catastrophic environmentally. You've got to keep that huge shed going, you've got to light it. But if you're growing an animal, and they do just over in the distance up there, they grow some absolutely amazing beef. If you're growing it in an environmentally sustainable manner, and you're using land that is otherwise not fit for agriculture, then you are going to have an amazing product. And we have evolved to be omnivores. So I'm not dissing any vegans and vegetarians here. Well, vegans slightly, because you do need to look at the impact of soya on the environment. It's not great. But by all means, if you don't want to eat meat, don't. But the actual environmental impact through cows farting of a cow raised up here is about 1/4 of that, all things taken into account, of one that is grown in a barn, corn-fed, soy-fed, whatever it might be. So just be discerning about what you are actually consuming. So this is exactly the type of land that I'm talking about. It is impossible to actually farm this, but a goat or a sheep be quite happy here. Have you got your friend? Maya has a friend. This is a village hound who has come up to say hello. He won't actually let me come any closer than about a foot away from him. He did sniff my hand the other day, so we're making progress. But don't know where he came from. I think he might be a village dog. But it's very cute to see them playing. So, just coming down here to show you, this was a chestnut tree that was killed by the fire. What happens with chestnut is when it gets hot, the bark literally explodes off, and of course if the bark goes, the cambium layer goes, it can't transport food and it dies. And you can see that this absolutely magnificent tree, which once upon a time would have absolutely towered over the landscape, is just reduced to a shell. But its presence is in a way a good thing, because we have not had to cut down any trees. We haven't cut down a single tree for our heating, and we heat the house entirely with one single wood burning stove, and it is just returning to the immediate locality the smoke, the gases, the carbon that has already grown on site. So, you know, we hardly use any gas. We do use it for cooking, for the oven. So we do, you know, we're not entirely out of it. We have electricity, of course. We never really wanted to live off grid because it's a little bit inconvenient. There's a lot more planning involved. But the electricity here, and it's one thing that I done a little bit of research into, it's the actual cost of the electricity that you have in France or you have in England versus what we pay here, and why there is such a huge difference. In the UK, the average standing charge, which is a fee that you pay ostensibly to have the privilege of having the meter and the billing service, is 53p a day. Let me say that again. The standing charge for electricity in the UK is 53 pence per day. And here in Portugal, it is 8 pence, or rather 8 cents per day, and that's actually just gone up from 6. It was 6 last year, but they've decided to put it up a whole 25%. But that is a charge that applies before you use a single kilowatt. The actual kilowatt prices are broadly similar all the way across Europe. Some are slightly more expensive, some are slightly cheaper. But this standing charge is ruinous, and if you start to tally up all the ways that we are forced to tick out money just before we even get out of bed, it is quite worrying. And you know, we're told it's a cost of living crisis, as if living was a bad thing, if living had to be paid for, whereas I would actually say it's a cost of profiteering crisis. So I don't know what you're going to do about that, and unless you're going to go and join the farmers yourself in Paris, well, yeah, least said of that the better on YouTube probably. So as we come up to the 2-year anniversary, a slightly different video today. If you made it this far, well done. I just wanted to sort of raise a few of the things that I've become slightly more aware of since we have started to not go off grid, but to grow our own food and to perhaps be slightly less reliant on the supermarket system. We practically stopped going to the supermarket. Obviously we need to buy bread, and we enjoy eating cheese, and that's not something that we're going to make here, although we can talk to the guys in the village who've got sheep. But yeah, So we still do go to the supermarket, but we've drastically reduced our spend there because we don't need to buy any fruit or vegetables. And that is an absolutely huge liberation, to know that you've got in your garden produce that you can go and collect, or in your larder produce that you have saved back and preserved. It's a really good thing. So, to the risk of repeating myself, I would suggest that you get out there, you dig up your garden. Have an absolutely brilliant day. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Apologies, I haven't put a video out for a bit. It's been pretty chilly weather. Been doing an awful lot of strimming, and that's not great fun to watch. And it's been the winter, and I've been doing some work as well. I've actually been doing some carpentry work for some people down in the village, which I've actually got to go and carry on with tomorrow. So we'll see what happens, and see what goes into the next video, really. One thing that, if you haven't already, let me know what you think. It's really difficult to you know, come up with inspiring content, which is why this one's been a sort of little bit of a rant, and it's why it's been sort of fairly long term coming. What do you want to see more of? Is that your pussycat? Is that your pussycat? Yes, it is. Your friend not going to come and say hello to me? Go on, you biking. What'd you do? I do. Yeah, he's a Serra da Estrella as well. Brilliant dogs. Quite sure what the cats think of him. One of the things that's really nice is when people comment. Nice comments though. Don't want nasty ones. Had a couple of those. If you do post something I don't like, well, I can just click a button and it's never going to be seen, so you may as well not waste your breath. Don't be oh, wonderful. The spring flowers are all coming through now. Really pretty. This is a little almond tree that I grew from seed. It's only a year old. It's just starting to bud into the leaf, so I have to be careful of that when I'm doing my old strimming. So the light's going now. Another beautiful day over, but they're still quite short at this time of year. And talking of electricity, we're all being exhorted to get electric cars. Whereas I've actually gone a slightly different route, in that is 36 years old now. Personally, I couldn't justify an electric car in any way, shape or form, not least on cost. I simply couldn't afford it. I do wonder what the real environmental impact of producing a car is, and I do believe that more energy is expended in the production of the car than it will ever use in its lifetime. So in my mind, it's probably better to keep the old things going, isn't it? Right, I'm just going to do some stuff before it gets dark. Thanks very much indeed for watching. If you haven't commented already, there's plenty in that video which you may well disagree with. I'd really like to hear from you. I don't want to be sort of just talking to myself. I really do like the feedback from you guys. So as ever, look after yourself. Take care. Peace and love.